Good afternoon, everybody. This is Fago Franklin III with New Stitch Media. Today, I am joined by former Oakland Raiders place kicker Jeffery Jaeger. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Can't complain. Can't complain. So, before we get into your NFL journey, can you give my viewers a words of encouragement for today?
Wow, I think that's kind of important nowadays for all of us. I know. For me, I've been just trying to stay positive and keep one foot in front of the other and all those things. But I honestly, I think if everybody would just take a breath and try and be kind to everybody and each other, I think that would be that'd be a great thing for all of us. I mean, just something as simple as that. I think everybody's getting caught up in all of the turmoil that we've got. And, I mean, I think that's a legit word, for all the stuff that's going on. And, hopefully here in the next week, cooler heads are going to prevail and some of this stuff's going to stop. I think we need that as a country. So I would just say, be kind.
Amen to that. Thank you for those words of encouragement. So, what started you to get into football? Like, what inspired you?
Wow. Well, now that I'm 56, kind of looking back, that's a long way in the rear view. But, when I was a kid in the schoolyard playing kickball and all that stuff, I think I was just the same as any kid that age. You watch it on TV or and you go out for a pass and you imagine you're Fred Biletnikoff or something like that. For me, I would say I was, an above average athlete growing up, but I was, no world beater. I would not have played at the college level at anything other than kicker. So to kind of put it in perspective, as once you go from high school to college, competition gets tougher, and then college to the pros, that's as elite as it gets. So you got to be better and better and better. And so when you're a kid, you kind of dream about it, but you don't. I mean, at least in my case, it wasn't like, okay, well, that's my goal and that's where I'm headed. But eventually, it turned into that.
So, what is it like playing for University of Washington? I know it's a huge atmosphere out there, but take it back to when you were playing. Was it as big as it is now, or what?
Oh, absolutely. When you think back on it, the Seahawks started in I think '76. So truly, the UW was it, for quite a while. And when I played in '83 to '86, and they're kind of in the midst of been to a couple of Rose Bowls, in a few years prior to getting there. And Coach James, look at the program he built. For me, that was just an absolute treat, an honor to play and play for UW. I can remember my first home game, running out of the tunnel. And, oh my gosh, the way the tunnel used to be is you'd go down, and then probably about the last 40 feet of it, you're going up to before you go over the track, and you're facing the south stands. And heck, in high school, I think maybe the biggest crowd I played in front of was 5,000 people. And I think at the time the stadium held like 60,000 people, but it might as well have been 1 million for me. I was like, oh my gosh. It definitely got my attention, that's for sure.
So you was picked up in the draft by the Browns. What was that experience like, just waiting for a team to kind of pick you up? Was you nervous? Was you sweating? How was that experience for you?
At the time, I mean, you look at, ESPN now where, they televise every pick and all of it. And I think at the time, I had done well at the combine and had a good college career, but, I didn't really have any idea of, how high I would go in the draft. But turned out that I got drafted like 20 minutes after the the coverage went off of ESPN, and I was picked in the 3rd round, and Coach Schottenheimer called me up and, hey, congratulations, you ready to come to Cleveland? And, for me, Cleveland was like the dark side of the moon, because I was born and raised in Seattle, and it was like, oh my gosh. But, they're got some awesome fans. There's no doubt about that. And, and you look at them now, good for them that they, made the playoffs and won a game. And, it's pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm. And you were actually picked up too by the Oakland Raiders. Tell me about that experience, and what did it mean for you to play for that type of team? Because we already know that's one of the legendary teams in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, so, as I mentioned before, the Seahawks didn't start till 76, and I was 12 years old then. Well, my mom has a picture of me at my 8th birthday wearing my Oakland Raiders sweatshirt. So for me to get the chance to play for the Raiders was a treat. Back then it was, they had what's called Plan B free agency. And, I was able to leave Cleveland. And so I went and tried out a few places, and, I could have signed some other places, but for me at the time, it was the Los Angeles Raiders at the time. And, so I went out there and luckily had a good workout, and Al Davis was like, hey, you're not leaving till we get something put together. And, so I got 7 great years there. And in my last year there was the first year back in Oakland, which as a Raider fan growing up, it was fantastic to get to go play there, live. And it was a treat.
What was your favorite memory playing in the NFL? Was it like a game-winning kick? Tell me about it.
Actually, probably my favorite kick was after the Raiders cut me. And it was my first home game in Chicago, and we were playing the Raiders. And I made a game winner with, I don't know, like 10 seconds left. And what was really cool about it was after the game, I probably had 20 Raiders come up and give me a hug or a high five or a pat on the butt. And to me, that really spoke to the camaraderie that I think people don't, fans don't really realize, because they're not, it's an everyday, day in, day out where you're around these guys, and they're, they become kind of like family. And, for me, it was nice to get that little bit of validation, like, hey, it's a bummer you got cut, but you know the drill. I mean, nobody's going to play forever. Very rarely do people get to quit on their own terms, when they've had enough. Usually their body breaks down, or they just can't do it anymore, which that happens.
After you retired, was it difficult to find your next purpose in life?
Yeah. And think about it from this perspective is, I was 35 years old when I retired from football, and I had been playing football, since I was a little kid. I mean, I played other sports in high school and all that stuff, but you get to that point where it's a part of you, and it's who you associate yourself with. It's like, well, geez, if I'm not a football player, what am I? And it makes you, take stock of, what's important. And, it definitely provides some growth opportunities for you. I've been married for almost 30 years now, and my wife, I mean, I don't know what I'd have done without her. I'm a work in progress, and I'm always trying, but I tell you what, having that support is a big deal, and, not everybody has it, and it can be tough. I mean, I know plenty of guys I played with that, their post-playing, post-career life hasn't hasn't been what you would want it to be.
Mhm. What advice could you give former players that are dealing with depression, anxiety, and just trying to figure out a new process in their life? What advice can you give those individuals?
Well, first of all, for me to stand on my soapbox and say, hey, this is what you should do.
Mhm.
As I said, I'm still a work in progress. What I've found to be successful for me is, trying to use some of the lessons that, that we learned in football. And like in football, it's like, hey, the beginning of the week, what your week looks like. It's show up at, 8:00 for a meeting. You got 9. I mean, ding, 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 ding. And anybody that plays, at any professional sport, they know the deal. It's show up, work hard, do your thing. And when that's taken away from you, it's hard, because at that point you have to come up with that schedule. And sometimes it's a little tough. So I still struggle with that. I've become much better, but I mean, again, we're not all perfect, and it's tough. So, for me, the thing that sad, I guess, is maybe a word, is the guys that are physically just beat up, and people don't understand the physical abuse and pounding that the game puts on guys. Like for me, I got my hip replaced, but what that is just a repetitive use kind of thing. It's not a running back who's got a 5-yard run and he's got 3 guys hanging on him, and some guy hits him in the knee and he never saw it coming. And anybody that plays, and they, I saw plenty of it. I played 13 years and I saw a lot of it. And for guys that get a catastrophic injury like that, that's rough. And not even a catastrophic one. Just the day in, day out pounding. People just don't understand it, and I can understand why guys hey, drink too much or whatever, just because it hurts. And as you age, it doesn't get any better, that's for sure.
So do you like the new rules that are in place to protect players?
I think it makes some sense. Not having off-season programs where you're there all the time. And I think it's a good thing, for guys to be able to unplug a little bit. And of course, coaches will be like, well, hey, we need the practice time. Well, look at the season this year. There was shorter training camps, not as no preseason, all those things. And you know what? It's still a great game. So I do like seeing some of the things that are, some of the initiatives that have been put forth to, ease up on the players. Yeah, I do.
So in your perspective, what do the Seattle Seahawks need to do in order to advance deep in the playoffs? Because again, they had a disappointing season. Even though they made the playoffs, they had a disappointing playoff run.
Okay, here's my take as a Seahawk fan, born and raised in Seattle. I think people have lost sight of just how great Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are. With the salary cap, you can't just go out and be the New York Yankees and buy a team. Okay, so maybe they don't spend as much money on the offensive line as some teams do. Well, you know what? Here's the deal. You can't pay everybody, and you have to pick and choose. And you look at, John Schneider. I mean, what a hell of a job he's done. Obviously, in conjunction with Coach Carroll. I think they're doing great. So, and I know I'm not really answering your question, but it's well, gee, play better, okay. But the thing that I get into conversations with people about when you start talking football, it's like the other guys get paid too. The other guys are great players. Okay, so you play the Rams. Okay, Aaron Donald. You going to find a better D lineman in the league than him? Not a chance. No way. So again, the other guys get paid too, and they're really good players.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So who are your Super Bowl picks?
Oh, well, what I'd love to see, I would love to see Tampa Bay and Buffalo. Buffalo, I've really enjoyed watching Josh Allen. Holy smokes, just the trajectory of his career and what he's done since he came in the league. Of course, I mean, he is huge. He can throw the ball through a brick wall, all those things. But I mean, we know that doesn't matter. You got to be able to put it where it needs to be and run the show and all those things. And boy, he sure seems like he's got it rolling. So I'd like to see that. And Tampa Bay, I'd love to see Brady do it without Belichick, just because. So those are my hopes, but I don't think either one of them will happen.
And out of these three quarterbacks, who have impressed you more? I know you just mentioned Josh Allen, but what about Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield? Do you honestly think that they took the next step in their careers?
I think for Baker Mayfield, I think, like you hear people talk about, oh, he's a game manager. What's wrong with that? You know what? Because you got a great running game now. And you know the drill. I mean, if you got a great running game, you can play off that. If you don't, and you have to sit back there and throw, I don't care who you are. They're just going to tee off on you, and it's not going to work. So, for Baker Mayfield, hey, good for him. I mean, he hasn't messed it up, but I think, you look at Nick Chubb. I mean, that dude, whew, I wouldn't want to try and tackle that dude. How about you? And Lamar Jackson, wow. I got to tell you, that cat can move.
Yes.
I mean, for me, it's just amazing to watch. It's like he's got that next level gear, like Tyreek Hill. And I mean, other than that, I mean, who else is there in the league that, I mean, think about it, a guy that can run away from people in the NFL. What's that tell you? I mean, that's like elite speed, or whatever term you want to use, it's next level. So tell you what, man, that guy's something else. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. And, good for him. He got a playoff win. Everybody's talking about, oh, well, what's wrong with him? He can't get off the schneid on that. He can't beat Kansas City. Well, who can beat Kansas City? Generally speaking. I mean, heck, I would take Lamar's record since he's been in the league. Not a problem. So I mean, he's doing good.
And my last question is, what life lessons that you learned just by playing sports?
Probably for playing for Coach James at the UW, being on time, valuing other people's time, respecting their time, and just setting some goals and trying to be organized and again, I wish I was perfect on that stuff, but those are lessons that definitely stick in my brain. And when I'm faithful to those lessons, it helps me in my life. That's for darn sure. But again, I ain't perfect. I wish I was.
I agree. So that's going to definitely conclude our segment. Jeff, where can my viewers actually find some of the things that you're doing right now?
Well, I've been a residential real estate advisor I'm heading into my 20th year now. So I've been doing that for quite a while. And so anybody looking for a little real estate assistance in the Seattle area, jeff.jaeger@rsir.com. Reach out. I'd love to help you. We can talk a little
Man,
football too.
hey, that brings people together. That brings unity.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. As everybody know, this is Fago Franklin III. You can definitely follow me on my Instagram, which is superjournalist87. You can follow me on my Facebook, which is Fago Franklin III. You can follow me on my LinkedIn, which is Fago Franklin III, or either you can type in Fago Franklin III in the Google search engine, and all my exclusive interviews with your favorite athletes, celebrities, sports media personalities will all pop up. Again, thank you, Jeff, for joining me. And again, everybody have a blessed and productive day.
Absolutely. What he
yes,
said.
Sir, yes, sir.
Take care.
All right, now. Yes, sir. Okay. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.